Hey guys, OGalbina here, and with the likeliness of Gen 4 remakes on the horizon and them being the new games and everything like that, I figured it'd be a fun video to kind of sit back and go over some of the Pokemon in the draft format that we're kind of missing on Wi-Fi right now due to them not being in the Sword and Shield decks in any capacity, and kind of go over, what they do, why I'm excited for them to come back and stuff like that. So I guess this could kind of be like a top 10 kind of video, if you will. But it should be a good time. There are a lot of really fun mons in Generation 4 that I really do miss, and yeah, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, I think I would be crazy if I didn't talk about the Gen 4 starters first. All three of them honestly have a great niche in the draft league scene. Infernape is a really solid choice scarfer with great momentum and U-turn. Its dual stabs and fighting and fire are amazing. It has great coverage as well. It has Gunk Shot to hit those annoying fairies. It gets Earthquake. A ton of different options on that side of things. And very solid setup option in Swords Dance on the physical side, as well as Nasty Plot on the special side. It can also go with bulky bulk up sets and Calm Mind sets with like Slack Off as well, which can actually be really terrifying. It's a fast Haunter, and it can even lay up Stealth Rock. So Infernape's honestly a really strong and versatile Pokemon in the draft format that we're definitely missing right now in Sword and Shield. It also offers a great speed tier, so when Infernape comes back, expect to see it on a ton of draft league teams. And secondly, we have Empoleon, the water starter of the Sinnoh region. Another really solid stealth rocker, a lot like Infernape. This Pokemon can pretty much always reliably get them up or remove them with Defog, which is very nice. It's a phenomenal bulky water. The water steel typing is great defensively. The only thing that Empoleon really lacks is reliable recovery, but with proper wish support, it can really be a super obnoxious one to kill. Another move that it can actually take a pretty good utility of is Protect, being able to grab passive lefty's recovery, unlike Toxic Protect sets, or if you now have a Scald Burn on something. So that's obviously really good. And then honestly, offensively, Empoleon is a lot better than people give it credit for. I think agility sets are really fun to use with either Surf or Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and then like a potential Grass Knot or a Substitute or something like that, and then agility with either some kind of a Resist Berry or maybe like a Pataya Berry, throwing it back to the Gen 4 days or something like that. You can go physical setup as well with Swords Dance. It gets Aqua Jet as well, and Defiant as a hidden ability. So Defiant can actually come up clutch in some matchups where you just don't want your opponent to defog away any of those hazards. So I think Empoleon's a really solid bulky water that we're really missing right now in the Galar region. Now, it may not be as flashy as the first two starters, but Torterra is definitely a very good niche Pokemon in the Draft League metagame. Again, third starter in a row that gets access to Stealth Rocks, which is pretty crazy. I think it's the only starter trio that all of them get access to Rocks, which is pretty cool. Very reliable rocker, great bulky grass, especially for a low point price. Also very strong offensively. That grass and ground coverage is actually very solid. It also gets access to obviously things like Stone Edge and things like that to hit the flyers that would annoy it, as well as access to Rock Polish and Swords Dance, which is really cool. This thing is a great Fizz Def wallet as well, having that 95 HP, 105 defense, and then Spit F isn't bad as well with 85. It is a little bit slower, but like I said, you have access to Rock Polish and things like that, and I think its defensive utility actually gets a little bit better in a metagame where there would be no hidden power, assuming they don't add that back to DPP remakes, which would be really cool to see. So Torterra definitely not as flashy as the first two starters of Gen 4, but it's still a very good Pokemon nonetheless. Right from the starters to the Route 1 bird, we have Staraptor. We're missing out on a really good choice scarfed Pokemon when we have Staraptor here. The base 100 speed tier isn't the best, but with a scarf you kind of mitigate a little bit of that middling speed tier. But with that 120 attack and that reckless ability, boosting up the power of recoil moves like Brave Bird and Double Edge, which are both stab, by 1.2 times power, is absolutely terrifying. Either with a scarf or with a band, this thing has genuinely no switch-ins with those two dual stabs, plus U-turn for momentum and close combat to hit those steals or those rock types that would switch in on your stabs. This Pokemon's a great potent wall breaker. It also gets access to Intimidate, so you could go with some more bulky Intimidate sets or something like that if you really need to, if the matchup permits. But realistically, Staraptor isn't a Pokemon you're going to see in a lot of teams, but on the teams if it's on, it's going to fill a really cool choice scarf, momentum grabbing, like wall breaking type Pokemon, and it's just really a Pokemon that would be fun to have back in DP remakes. Next up, we have a Draft League staple in the form of Gliscor. Now, Gliscor was a hugely important mon in both Gen 7 Draft Leagues and Gen 6, having that Toxic Orb plus Poison Heal ability being able to realistically just be a great status absorber, passively heal itself up a ridiculous amount. It gets access to great moves like rocks, obviously. It can taunt, it can swords dance, it can U-turn. Earthquake plus facade is, honestly great coverage in most, instances. And in a meta where hidden power most likely will not be a thing, having Gliscor around will be genuinely amazing. The defensive and utility on this Pokemon will skyrocket through the roof. You also have great utility in Knockoff and Roost, and again Defog plus Rock, so you can be either or, and options like I said, Swords Dance and things like that. So Gliscor is definitely a great Pokemon that we're really missing out on in Sword and Shield right now. Yanmega is next up, and it's a little bit more of a sleeper pick. Not one you typically see used and drafted all too often, but when you can find the opportunity to fit it on a team, it can be genuinely terrifying to deal with. You have two great abilities, one of which being Speed Boost, allowing you to clean through a lot of teams late game with your pretty high 116 special attack stat. 95 speed really isn't that bad once you start boosting up and things like that. And then you also have access to Tinted Lens, which makes your not very effective moves a lot stronger. And with a typing like Bug and Flying, that's genuinely really hard to switch into when you're going up against a set that has Specs or a Life Orb or something like that. It does have a pretty nasty 4x weakness to rocks, but heavy duty boots are a thing that were introduced this gen, so provided that stays around, which it most likely should, this Pokemon gains a little bit more longevity in boot sets potentially. You do obviously lose out on a little bit of power from the Life Orb or the Specs or something like that, but it could be something that's worth. It also gets U-turn. Its stabs are pretty solid, especially again with that Tinted Lens ability, letting it rip through teams. And yeah, while it's a little bit more slept on and not seen as often, I think it would be a lot of fun to see Yanmega come back. Now, next up, of course, we gotta talk about Manaphy. Manaphy's exclusion from Sword and Shield has definitely been an unfortunate one. While I'm not personally the biggest fan of using Manaphy in Draft League, I know it's a Pokemon that a lot of people enjoy. Now, keep in mind, Tailglow in Sword and Shield right now is cut from the game. But if it were to be reintroduced into DPP, I could totally see them adding the move back to the game and giving Manaphy that viability that it had before, and getting that automatic +3 special attack with its 100 stats across the board can be realistically pretty nasty to deal with in a lot of instances. Not only can you go Tailglow plus a bunch of attacks, you can also go Rain Dance plus Calm Mind, and then potentially rest off all that damage with Hydration, which basically removes any status condition you get if Rain is active. So not only do you get that strong wall breaking, +3 with that Tailglow, you can also sweep with, fatter Calm Mindsets. It also has great utility in moves like Knock Off and U-Turn and things like that. So Assault Vest Manaphy definitely isn't the worst thing in the world. Spamming Scald, Snag and Burns, using its great bulk to pivot around, things like that. So Manaphy is definitely a Pokemon, while not particularly my favorite Pixie to use in Draft. It's definitely a Pokemon that would be, welcome back to the metagame, provided they added back Tailglow and didn't shaft it. Now we go from one Pixie that I don't particularly enjoy to a Pixie I genuinely love using in Shaymin. Now, Shaymin also has that great 100 stats across the board. It has reliable recovery and synthesis, which is genuinely amazing for a Pokemon with this kind of stat line. It has phenomenal coverage in Seed Flare plus like Earth Power and Dazzling Gleam and things like that to really hit the checks that might want to switch in on it. Seed Flare being a ridiculously spammable move in itself, having, I believe it is a 40% chance to lower the target's def by 2, which makes, actually, despite this thing not having any moves to really boost up its special attack or having the strongest stat in general, it makes this thing a really pretty potent wall breaker with a Life Orb. I think Life Orb 3 attack Shaymin is awesome. Again, its defensive utility is out the roof. It also has access to moves like Leech Seed and Aromatherapy. It also gets Natural Cures and ability, so it's a great status absorber, which is genuinely amazing for a Pokemon that's going to be used as a defensive pivot a lot of the time. And yeah, it's a genuinely great Pokemon. I really do enjoy Shaymin an absolute ton. And it's one of the best bulky grasses in the format, in my opinion, for its price point, at least, for sure. So I would be ecstatic to see it come back. So that's going to be it, guys. These are the Pokemon that I'm most excited to see come back in DPP remakes, at least Gen 4 specific. There are actually a ton of Pokemon I really miss in Draft that, just aren't in the game right now. Pokemon like Greninja, Pokemon like Breloom, things like that are definitely some of my absolute favorites, but I figured, in the spirit of Gen 4 remakes, I would kind of keep it specific to Pokemon that are native to the region and stuff like that. We know for a fact they're coming back. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this kind of video. If you want me to do more videos like this and stuff like that in the future, definitely let me know. This one was a lot of fun to make. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.